have to be very, very careful about not moving my chair because I have recently adopted 2 kittens and they are just round the bottom of my chair, and if I move I'm going to run over their little tails. If you hear rustling in the background, it's because they're sniffing around all of me boxes that I've got in here. Oh, buddies, want to come up here and say hello? No. Okay, right, so welcome back to the Dragon Age project. If you're not aware, the Dragon Age project is a sort of personal project of mine where I am trying to get every single achievement in Dragon Age Origins across 8 separate playthroughs. And the primary reason for doing all of this is because then, you know, I'll have 8, because I'm not just trying to get every achievement, I'm trying to get, like, you know, every outcome of, you know, or at least every outcome, if not every combination of outcomes, is sort of like, you know, what I'm going for. Because then it'll be a lot easier for me to make sort of Dragon Age videos, because I'll have 8 playthroughs with, you know, save points where I'll be able to jump into, you know, whatever point I want to make a video out of, and I'll have all of these different characters with different specializations and different personalities and different choices that they make and stuff like that. That is the primary goal. But I think it was almost a year ago that I originally announced this. Was it February? It might have been February that I originally announced this, and I'm only just finished the first playthrough. Yay! Go me. Yes, so because originally I was going to do 8 simultaneous playthroughs. So I'd be playing them like all at the same time, and then I was going to just like keep updating you as to where I was in each one, and that just sort of didn't work. I did one video where I introduced 2 of the characters and then just never got around to going back to it. And then I decided, you know what, it's better to do like a full playthrough in one, because then, you know, you can get into it and you can really get into the story and stuff. But you know, life happens, things happen. I've got the Oblivion series going on. I've adopted 2 flipping kittens who are somewhere. They've buggered off. I think they've buggered off. So yes, as it happens, I have only just completed the first playthrough. I am hoping to get another 2 done by the end of the year. But you know, it's me, so. Anyway, so the first one that we've completed. Right, this is what I'm going to do. I've got this folder here where I've printed out, like it's like a physical copy of the Dragon Age Keep, really, where I'm going to record down all of the decisions that I made and whatnot. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to go through the playthrough, the choices I made, any sort of, you know, notable bits about it, and then we're going to jump into the end of the game and have a look at like what my stats were and stuff like that. And the reason I'm doing this is just, I mean, it's not really like a tutorial video, it's not really a discussion video, it's just this is a playthrough that I did and this is what happened in it. This is like a Dragon Age geek video. This is, if you like hearing about other people's playthroughs and sort of the things that happened in it, and just generally talking about Dragon Age, that's what this video is for. I do not expect it to get 1,000,001 views or anything like that, but, you know, I just thought I'd do it to keep you updated, because I might as well, and then, you know, when I sort of maybe use this character again in a different video and I'll say, oh, this is this character, you'll go, oh yes, I remember that character, I know her personality and her backstory. So, you know, it's a very particular type of person that this video is for. So, you know, if you are not in any way interested in just hearing me waffle about my playthrough, I am not offended at all, I completely understand. So, the character we are covering today is Constance Amell. She is our human mage. I've got her little profile thing here. Now, her picture is wrong, because I did all of the origin playthroughs for like all of the characters, and then I've decided I'm going to start them all from scratch. So she looks kind of like that, but I changed it a little bit. I think she's got slightly different hair. But I did try to make her look as much like Bethany from Dragon Age 2 as possible, because of course she's Bethany's cousin, isn't she? Now, I didn't come up with much of a backstory for her, other than she was taken from her family at an incredibly young age and grew up in the circle. That's kind of it. I haven't come up with anything more interesting than that. So if we fill in her little opening profile: name Constance Amell, gender female, race human, class mage, specializations. Right, Constance is a blood mage. I have not yet picked another specialization for her because I just couldn't decide on one, but also as part of trying to get all of the achievements, there's an achievement for maxing out each, skill tree. So the primal tree, the creation tree, the spirit tree, and the entropy tree. And it's very, 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 very difficult to do that. Because I've only got 2 mages, you see. So each mage is going to have to max out 2 of these trees. As you can see, I haven't managed it. I managed the entropy one. But the primal one, which is the 2 I decided to focus on, We're almost there, but we're going to have to finish it off in Awakening. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. So I wasn't really going to have many spare points to put in anything else anyway, but I might pick another one in Awakening. But at the minute, she is just a Blood Mage. That's the only specialisation she has. Name of her dog. Her dog is called Snuffles because I couldn't think of anything else. I know people like to name their dogs it's something that relates to their characters, like they go for Fen Harel if they've got a Dalish elf and stuff like that. But no, Constance named her dog Snuffles because that was all I could think of in the moment. Romance. Now this is an interesting one. So she romanced Alistair, but that wasn't the original plan, and she ended up in an awkward love triangle between Alistair and Liliana. And I'll tell you how this happened. So I've played as Constance before. She's not a new warden. And her story was originally meant to be quite tragic. So this is like the whole personality of Constance, is that, she grew up in the Circle. In the Circle, they are taught to control, and in some cases probably repress, their emotions, because their emotions is what influences their magic. And if they lose control, not only can they lose control of their magic itself, set things on fire and whatnot, but they can also that's when they're more susceptible to demons. So mages are taught to manage their emotions, and you see this when you go to the Mage Tower. It's something that's not mentioned as much later on in games. Like by Inquisition, they seem to have sort of forgotten that's a thing, that they have to control their emotions. But in Origins, you see them talking about it when you go to the Circle Tower. But of course, another big part of growing up in the Circle would be learning how to hide things. Because you're growing up in an environment where the Templars are constantly watching. And even if they're not actively cruel, which in some circles they are, because we hear about it, but I think in a lot of circles they're probably not, but they're still watching. And not only the Templars, the senior mages are watching. They're all watching all the time. They're watching for any sign that you might be a Blood Mage. They're watching for any sign that you might be susceptible to possession. They might decide they want to make you tranquil. They're watching you all the time to see if you're good enough, to see if you can control your skills enough, to see if you can use magic well enough. This is an environment where you would learn how to hide things. And I think you would be so good at it, you wouldn't even know you're doing it. And you would also hide things from yourself. Constance is a very repressed person, right? Is what I'm basically trying to say. And to grow up in such an environment of paranoia all the time is not healthy. She's not a person who would ever feel safe. But that doesn't mean that she actively feels in danger either. She doesn't hate the Circle. I'm not playing her as a mage who hates the Circle and resents the Circle. Quite the opposite. I was playing her as a mage who was quite proud to be part of the Circle and quite loyal to the Circle. But that's because she doesn't know the damage it's had on her, because she's never known anything else. But she grew up in this environment of paranoia and, always being watched, never really being able to completely be yourself, never being able to, share secrets because you don't know who you can trust. Things like that. Never really being able to get close to anyone. And this is actually something that I find quite fascinating about the mage origin. I don't know if it's deliberate or if it's me reading too much into stuff. But in every single origin story, I am always very impressed by how much they get me to care about characters who are only in for a little bit. Like when the Kuzlin family get murdered, I'm genuinely upset, despite the fact that, you hardly know them. Even things like leaving the Dalish clan is quite heart-wrenching, actually. Even though, you some of them you didn't even speak to for more than 2 or 3 sentences. And yet leaving them kind of really touches you and affects you. And that really impresses me about the origin stories, that they can make you feel so much in such a short space of time, and you become really connected to the origin. The mage origin isn't like that. At least I personally think that there's nobody in the origin that I get attached to, not even Jowan. Jowan's irritating, and his story is irritating. I don't really want to help him. He doesn't feel like a close friend. He's meant to be, your friend and everything, but he doesn't feel like a close friend. He doesn't feel like somebody that you trust. It doesn't feel like he trusts you, because of course he's hiding things from you. I don't think that the Circle is really an environment where you can have proper friends, because you can't ever completely let your guard down. And that comes across in the origin, because like I say, there's nobody I encounter in the origin who I feel any deep affection for. I mean, I suppose it's sort of implied that you're Irving's like favourite student or something. But even then, I mean, it's not like he comes across as some sort of great father figure or anything. And like I said, I don't know whether that's deliberate or whether it's just me reading too much into it, but it just feels like it's the kind of environment where you wouldn't make real connections with people. Because you can't ever really be yourself, because you've always got your guard up. You know people are always watching you. You can't relax. And when you're in that kind of environment, you can't be yourself. And if you can't be yourself and you can't confide in people and you can't show people who you really are, then you can't get close to someone if you can't do that. So this is just a roundabout way of me explaining that Constance is a very repressed person. She's a very confused person. She doesn't really know who she is. She doesn't really know what she wants. She's very conflicted. And in my original playthrough of her, like the original Constance I played as her a few years ago now, my whole story about her was that she had this fascination about magic and arcane secrets and knowledge and power. And she wasn't a bad person. She didn't like thirst for power or anything like that, but she wanted to know things that the circle wouldn't teach her because it's, forbidden. But she's also a devout Andrastian because she's been raised in the Andraste, church and all that. And basically the storyline was that she would romance Liliana. Her and Liliana would be this, passionate, overwhelming love that they would have. And of course, come Redcliffe, she makes a deal with a demon to learn the power, the secret of blood magic. Not so much because she wants to be a blood mage, just because she wants to know things that the circle wouldn't teach her. She's got this thirst for knowledge. So, and she's susceptible to demons because of it. Specifically desire demons, because she's got lots of desires that she sort of, represses because she's a mage and she has to keep control of herself, but then all of a sudden she's out with a circle. And I sort of came up with this idea that maybe she's talked to demons before in her dreams. Wynne talks about how she's always had an affinity for spirits. Maybe Constance has always had an affinity for demons. That was like my idea. And I came up with this wonderful thing that she makes this deal with this demon at Redcliffe, earns the power of blood magic, but then the demon sort of stays with her, doesn't possess her, but stays with her, because the blood magic comes from demons. I mean, you literally need to draw the power from demons. So it sort of makes sense that she would be in contact with the demon, through the fade. That was my idea anyway, and that sort of influences her going on, and she would slowly get darker and darker and darker as the game went on. And then at the end, she was going to have this epiphany moment where Morrigan offers her the dark ritual and she's really tempted, and then she goes, you know what, no, I've gone too far. Alright, I've lost myself. I've been too corrupted by this demon, and she says no, and then she dies killing the archdemon. And then that leads on to sort of explaining why Liliana is in such a dark place and has, become such a different person by the time Inquisition comes around. And that was the original Constance story, and it was a very dark story that I specifically came up with to explain why Liliana was in such a dark place come Inquisition, because the death of Dorothea didn't seem enough somehow. But that is not what happened in this playthrough. I've simply spent 5 minutes telling you what didn't happen in this playthrough. This is definitely one of my videos, isn't it? Yeah, so what happened in this playthrough? We had a bit of a problem. So there is a bug with Liliana. Now, it's apparently been patched out, but a lot of people say it's still there. And as it happens, it still is. So if you gain approval with her too quickly, it locks you out of the conversation where she talks about how she was a bard. So there's a question you can ask her where I've heard in Orlais, minstrels are often spies. That's the question. And that's when she tells you about being a bard. Actually, I don't think she tells you that she's a bard, she just tells you that they exist. And then later on in camp, she'll tell you about Marjolaine and everything. And that opens up her personal quest. And you need to complete her personal quest if you want to, really move the romance forward. You can be kind of, flirting with her and stuff, but you can't properly, complete the romance, get to all the steamy stuff and things like that, until you do her personal quest. But there is this bug that if you increase your approval with her too quickly, without having that conversation then disappears, and then you can't get it again. And it locks you out of that, so you never get to complete her personal quest. But you can fix it by reducing her approval with you, I think, apparently. Anyway, I've never encountered this bug before. I've known about it, I know that it's a thing, but I personally, it's never happened to me. I usually get that conversation with her quite early on. As it happened this time, apparently I wasn't being that conscientious, and I was flirting with her and we were starting the romance and everything as it was all meant to go according to plan. And then all of a sudden I was like, that conversation's never turned up. And my approval with her was like 94, and I thought, oh dear. And I did try to fix it by using the gifts that you can get from Bodan. There's ones that like massively increase your approval and ones that massively decrease your approval. And I did decrease her approval, but still the conversation wasn't turning up, and I thought, you know what, maybe it's just broken. And I didn't really have any saves that would, I was kind of too far through to be able to go back, you know what I mean? I thought, I really can't be bothered replaying just for the sake of this. And I thought, you know what, change of plan. We're going to romance Alistair. And I'm going to change the storyline, because in my plan for all of my characters that I've got rough plans for all of them, I only had one Alistair romance, and it ends tragically. I won't tell you exactly how it ends tragically, but it ends tragically. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to just have a nice Alistair romance where they both get to run off and be Grey Wardens together and be happy together? Wouldn't that be nice? I thought, you know what, we're going to do that. So I started the romance with Alistair, which then led to this very awkward conversation with Liliana, which I've never had before because I've never done this.
You love Alistair. I've seen you together. I'd have to be blind, deaf, and buried 10 leagues underground not to notice. But you've said such things to me. Were there lies? Have you been playing with my feelings?
Yeah, so she basically confronts you and says, you've been flirting with Alistair and me, which one do you want? And you can choose her but still choose to remain friends. But even so, she'll still disapprove. And as it happened, because I'd done a few things that had annoyed her as well, I'd made a few decisions that she didn't like very much, so her approval was a bit down anyway. And that disapproval that I got from that conversation apparently knocked her under the threshold, because I think the threshold is something like 75. It's if you go above 75 without having that conversation, that's when this bug kicks in. And all of a sudden the conversation was available to me, and I managed to unlock a bloody personal quest, didn't I? But by that point, I'd chosen Alistair. So anyway, long story short, her romance choice was Alistair, but I think it's worked out quite well, because her and Liliana were still, like, besties. And I quite liked it, actually. I quite liked the idea that, while there was the possibility of romance, but she was flirting with Alistair as well, and it was all a bit up in the air, and maybe Liliana just didn't feel comfortable enough telling her things when she didn't quite know where she stood. But then as soon as she knew where she stood, she was like, you know what, I trust you more now. I'm going to tell you my life story now that we're besties rather than possible lovers. I love it when things like this happen. It's something I love about Origins. It doesn't happen so much in newer RPGs and like the more recent Dragon Age ones, because things are more clear. Like, it's more clear when you're picking romance options, and it's more clear when you're picking breakup options and stuff like that. Origins is a bit more, it's buggy for starters, but I love it when you can turn a bug into a plot point. I love that, and there's not many games that you can do that with, and Origins is one of them. It has a few bugs that I've turned into plot points before, where, just like a little glitch will happen, and you think, you know what, I'm going to turn that into part of the story. I like that. It sort of keeps things fresh. It's got that unpredictability about it. I think Inquisition doesn't really have that, because everything's too clear, it's too scripted, it's too easy to plan. I think Origins messes your plans up all the time, whereas Inquisition, when you've got a plan for the story, you can just stick to it. Origins, it takes that plan up and throws it out the window, and I love that. So yes, the romance was Alistair, and then we've got lovers. So this is like where I record down every single person that she slept with in the game, which was Alistair. She was very true to him, there was nobody else. Hello, Star. Do you want to come up here and say hello? Hey? Just want to dance around my feet and nearly get your tail run over. I did think about having her get a bit frisky with Isabella as part of her darker side coming out, but I completely forgot that Isabella existed and never ended up speaking to her. And Duelist was the only specialisation I hadn't unlocked by the end, because I just forgot about Isabella, and it was only when I got to the end of the game I was like, oh my god, I never went to speak to Isabella. Just completely forgot about her. And then we've got notes there where I'll write down like things about her backstory, but I'll do that after. Okay, so next one, we have got companions. This is just how all of the companion quests turned out and stuff like that. So, companion, Alistair, relationship. Oh, bugger. Can I go through them all? No, I can't. Because in proper geekery, I write down like what current approval level I'm at with all of them and stuff like that. I'll tell you what, should we reload to an earlier save? Right, so this is just after the lands meet that I've loaded up. So I don't think I did anything to increase or decrease approval after this. So Alistair, he is at love plus 100. I should certainly hope so. Plus 100. Liliana? Liliana is friendly plus 100. Which I think is very generous, considering we were in a love triangle. But it's very sweet. Yeah, you unlock some little sweet conversations with her. Yeah, you have quite a sweet conversation with her afterwards where she sort of tells you how happy she is that you found each other. It's quite cute. And then you get that other conversation where she starts asking you things about Alistair. I think that's quite nice. Win is friendly 97. What did I do to annoy her? Oh, I know what I did. I remember what I did to annoy her. Actually, we'll get to that later. Friendly plus 97. Yes, I remember the exact thing that got me -3 approval from her quite recently. Ogren. For heaven's sake. Plus 51 warm. Snuffles, that's my dog, which is not featured on here, but he's, you know, he's always plus 100 friendly, isn't he? You can't do anything to piss him off. Shale, plus 81 friendly. Morrigan, plus 95 friendly. It was a strange playthrough this one, because I hardly ever had her in my party. She usually never leaves my party, but I just like never took her anywhere. Oh, I made her an Arcane Warrior as well, just to like experiment a bit. I made Win an Arcane Warrior in that video, didn't I? But then I never ended up using it because I just hadn't really spec'd her out for it. So I made Morrigan one just to sort of play around with it a bit, but I never played as her. Well, like I never had her in the party, so it didn't really matter. Sten, plus 67 warm. Sten liked me more than Ogren. That's interesting. Zevran, who I hardly ever spoke to, and yet still 74 warm. But that was because I gave him lots of gold bars. Is that everybody? That's everybody, right. Then I have to put the fate of everybody, whether they're still alive or not. So Alistair remained a Grey Warden. So he's still alive. Grey. Haven't made this box big enough. Grey Warden. Morrigan. She ran off with her old god baby. Liliana ran off to try and find Marjolaine. So returned to Orlais. Most of this you don't even need for the Dragon Age keep. I just like to keep it, you know, for posterity. Sten returned to wherever it is the Canary come from. What's it called again? Parvolin. Saharon. Is Parvolin the city? No, wait, Parvolin's up there, and that's Saharon. Yeah, Saharon's the one that they're fighting the Tavinters over, isn't it? Or something like that. I can't quite remember. Right. Returned to Zevran. Well, at the end he says he wanted to stay with the Grey Wardens, but we know that that's not what happens. But, you know, we'll say that that's what he wanted to happen. Stays with Wardens. Shale went to Devinter. Went, whoops, daisies, to Devinter. Win also went to Devinter. And Ogren, well, becomes a Grey Warden, doesn't he? We know that. Let's just say became Grey Warden. That's always what happens to him, though. I don't think you can not have him as a companion, can you? I'm sure you can't not recruit Ogren. Which is probably why he's the only one who returns in Awakening. Because he's the only one where like there isn't multiple endings for him. Because he can't not be your companion, I'm pretty sure. He can't die. Like, he's always just there, which is why he turns up in Awakening. Right, now, personal quests. So, Alistair. Oh, flipping heck, little claws in my knee. Hello, buddy cats. I didn't even know you were there. Do you want to come up here and say hello? Eh? Rather than scratching me leggings to bits. I'm going to come up here and say hello. Say hello to the people. Look. Look. No, you want to sniff my leggings, do you? You want to sniff my leggings? Eh? I know I won't get your brother up here because he's flipping antisocial as hell, isn't he? Isn't he? Yes. Oh! Come up here and say hello. Look, show them your gorgeous little face. Show them your gorgeous little face. You're camera shy, eh? Camera shy. Look, look, look. Don't you dare jump on top of my computer. Flipping it, it's like I'm a parrot, Jesus. Hello, Star. I won't do that again, sweetheart. Sorry. Right, anyway. See what I give you? It may be rambling long tangents, but at least there's kittens. Yes, so Alistair, yes, we found Goldana. Goldana. And we softened him. We didn't harden Alistair, we softened him. Actually, Constance, this playthrough ended up being a lot less dark than it was originally going to be. Like, a lot less dark than the original playthrough was. Hello, pretty. Hello. What? Do you want to come back up? You want to come back up? Hey? No? Flippin' heck, what is it with cats? You can never work out what they want. Yes, so we suffered Alistair. Morrigan. Yes, so we didn't kill Flemeth. We pretended that we killed Flemeth. We actually made a deal with Flemeth. So we made the deal with Flemeth. Then we lied to Morrigan. Because, yes, Constance does have a dark side to her. Oh my god, Putty Cat, what? Are you coming up or not? Yes? Yes. Okay. You can be on my knee now then. And I'll just have to, like, write with my mind or something. You're too small for them to see you, you know. You're too small for them to see you. Come here a bit, eh? You've got food behind your ear. You need to clean behind your ears. You just see your tail. Look, look, look. This is my favourite thing. Look, look. She's got a little white bit. Look at a little white bit. Now she's going to climb all over my keyboard. That's nice, isn't it? You wouldn't be a cat if you didn't. Anyway, yes. What was I saying? We made a deal with Flemeth. Being distracted by cats. This is the most me video I've ever made. Right, yes. We made a deal with Flemeth and then we lied to Morrigan. Because I mean, Constance. Like I say, this playthrough is a lot less dark than it was originally going to be. Because I gave this version of Constance more of like a conscience or stronger willpower than the other one. But yeah, she is at her heart a practical person. And you know, Flemeth didn't do anything to her. I mean, yeah, she might been going to do terrible things to Morrigan, but she didn't do anything to Constance. Constance didn't really have, you know, any reason to fight her. It seemed pointless, didn't it, Putty? It seemed pointless. So, yes, we made the deal with Flemeth and we lied to Morrigan about it. Not that it changes anything in the long run anyway. Liliana, so we did end up doing... You are so cute. We did end up doing... I'm just torturing you with a kitten you can't see. We just move your head up a bit. Just a little bit so they can see you. Eh? Where's your brother? Is he hiding in his tunnel? I bet he is, isn't he? He's more antisocial than she is. She's the cuddly one. Comes and sits on my lap of an evening and purrs, don't you? You're very sweet. Brother's not quite as cuddly, but that's alright. He sits in his little tunnel on the floor and judges us with his little eyes like this, looking suspiciously, while she's all over me like a flipping rash. So yes, Liliana, we did end up doing Liliana's quest. I didn't think we were going to. Flipping heck. What are you trying to do? We did end up doing Liliana's quest. This is like one of the, you know, the puppy interviews that they do. Is it BuzzFeed that does them? I can't remember. Or is it Vanity? I think it's BuzzFeed does the puppy interviews. Where they interview celebrities while they're playing with puppies and they just get absolutely nothing done. That's what this is like. My version. Like I don't get distracted enough as it is. Flipping heck. Anyway, so yes, we did do Liliana's quest. But we let Marjolaine live. And I can't quite remember why. I don't think that was a conscious decision on my part. It was just sort of how it turned out. Sometimes as you go through, you just sort of pick the dialogue options that feel most like your character, and then the outcome is whatever it is. So yes, Marjolaine lived. Marjolaine lived, didn't she? Yes. Yes, she did. Sten's sword. We found Sten's sword. Found... What? Found Sten's sword, didn't we? Yes, we did. You're very... Oh, God, you're going to fall off if you're not careful, love. Now, Zevran... we got to the point in Zevran's quest where Taliesin just attacks you. But Zevran hadn't actually spoken to me about it. Flipping heck! Because... I don't know, I just find it really hard to get Zevran to open up about anything, unless you're like really Unless like you're romancing him or something, so you're really kind of dedicated to him. It's very difficult. She's on me flipping thing that's holding me phone up. So if the camera suddenly falls over, that's why. You bloody cat. So yes, Taliesin's dead, but only because he attacked us. Like Zephyr never told us about, you know, so they were both in love with the same girl or something. I can't remember. But yes, Taliesin is dead. And Shale, we found Kadash Taig for Shale, but I didn't take Shale with us when I went into the Deep Roads to talk to Caradin. Partly because you've already got flipping Ogren, and having Ogren and Shale then leaves you only one slot for somebody who's actually decent. But also I was kind of thinking about maybe not destroying the anvil, and Shale wouldn't have liked that very much. But that's not what ended up happening, but it's what I was thinking about. But we did find Kadash Taig for her. Win's regret, yes, so we went and found what's his name for Win. Anybody remember what his name is? The elf. And Win's quest is very anticlimactic, isn't it? It's just like, oh, there was this student who I let down and he ran off and he's almost certainly dead. Oh, look, he's not dead. Will you forgive me? Yes, Win, I forgive you. Oh, brilliant. We can get back to what we were doing now. Like, what? What was his name then? It begins with an A, doesn't it? I'm just going to put found her missing student. That's what I'm going to put. Yeah, her quest is just a bit weird. Oh, and Ogren, yes. We got Felsi and Ogren back together. That was us who did that. I was a good wingman. And I got Felsi and Ogren back together. They seem like a nightmare couple, like one of those couples that just like love screaming at each other. Still, she can't be worse than fucking Bronca was. Together, there we go. Right, Alistair and Liliana. Yes, Alistair was softened. Liliana was softened. I was going to harden Liliana, but like I say, it just didn't kind of work out that way. Characters develop as the game goes on. Ooh, God! Big cat just falling off the windowsill. Jesus Christ. What was I saying? Yes, characters kind of develop as you're playing them. And they sometimes change from what you originally intended them to be. So Constance didn't end up being as dark as she was meant to be, but you know. Right, now we've got choices and decisions. We're going to go through every single major quest, aren't we, Star? Aren't we? So Ostagar and Lothering, these are like the things that the Dragon Age Keep wants you to input. And some of them I have no idea why, because as far as I can tell, they have no impact on anything. And you're like, why do you even want me to put that in? But, so, anyway, the Hungry Prisoner. It's the prisoner who's in the cage waiting to be sentenced, and he wants you to get some food for him. So we... Hello. We persuaded... You're trying to get on my knee, aren't you? Do you want on? There you go. There you go. Mind you, I'm going to have to rest on you to write me flipping thing now. Aren't I? Are you going to jump off again? Going to jump off again? Thinking about it. You're thinking about it, aren't you? And down she goes. Brilliant. Flipping heck. Right, so yes, the Hungry Prisoner at Ostagar. Right, yes, so the Hungry Prisoner at Ostagar, we persuaded the guard to give his food up. The Sick Hound, well, we obviously rescued him because then we named him Snuffles. Oh, and Sten, how did we get Sten out? Well, we persuaded the revered mother to give us the key. Or I believe it was actually Liliana that persuaded her for us. Revered, how do you spell revered? Yeah, that'll do. I don't think that's how you spell it, but it'll do. I know what I mean. Right, now we've got Redcliffe. So, we did prepare for the Battle of Redcliffe. We did all the preparations for when... actually, that was in the 200 subscriber special. Getting ahead of myself here. The 100 subscriber special, that was the Battle of Redcliffe. We did all the preparations. We fought the battle. Because you can just leave when Redcliffe's being attacked by the dog. Flippin' heck. Claws in my knees. Again, stop it. No, you jumped down. You're not coming back up. Now she's going to sit on my shoes. Yep, she sat on my shoes. Yes, you can just leave if you want. When they're being attacked by the undead, you can just go and just say, you know what, I've got better things to do, and come back later when the bloody village has been destroyed. Oh my god, cat, I am not a flipping scratching post. If you're going to come back up, do you want to at least show your face to the people? Look at her, isn't she precious? There you go. Eh? You precious little putty. Your brother doesn't give me this trouble, he just keeps to himself, he does. Okay, I'm now going to hold the file up here because there's a cat grooming herself on me. Oh, and she's down again. There she goes. Right. So, yeah. So you can just leave if you want, but and then you come back and the village is destroyed, and you still have to save Eamon. I've never done it actually, so I don't actually know what happens. I'm assuming. I don't know whether like you walk in and the place is overrun with undead and you still have to fight them, or whether they've fought them all off but everybody's just dead. I don't know. I'll have to do it at some point to find out, won't I? So Connor, well, of course Connor is possessed by a demon, isn't he? Because we made a deal with the demon to get blood magic, because Connie has this, you know, slightly dark side to her, which is driven purely by a thirst for knowledge. It's not driven by evil or anything. She's actually a very compassionate person. But like I say, she's got this thirst for knowledge, but she's also got this kind of like doing what's necessary. You know, she's quite happy to sacrifice the few to save the many. She's got that kind of mentality, which is, you know, it doesn't relate to Connor at all. But she's also got this sort of, she's susceptible to demons, particularly desire demons, because she's got desires that she's been repressing her entire life. Just because of the way she's grown up, and she's very susceptible to desire demons. So this demon manages to talk her into, you know, but she's also a bit naive. That's another thing, because the demon says something like, "Oh, you know, I'll leave him for now, and then I'll come back years from now." And I suppose she's a bit naive in thinking, well, maybe, you know, I'll be able to talk the demon out of it in the meantime or something like that. But anyway, for one way or another, Connor is possessed. So Connor is possessed. His soul is dead, obviously, because she died in the ritual. Bella, what happened to Bella? Oh, Bella went to be a maid in the castle, didn't she? I persuaded her to go and ask Tegan if he had a job for her. So, I don't know if that's actually an option in the Dragon Age Keep, now I think about it, but that's what happened. Bevan, I found Bevan, and I did get the sword. I paid them for the sword, didn't I? Yes. So, paid Caitlin for sword. Velena, I rescued Velena. Now, the Urn of Sacred Ashes. So, I did not destroy the Urn of Sacred Ashes, because... Get your claws out of my knees! Oh my god, what? What do you want? Keep disrupting my video. It's going to be 5 hours long because of you. Because of you. I mean, I could just put you outside and close the door, but I don't have the heart to. She's literally just scrambling up my leg. My god. Look at my leggings. Look at the state of them. It's because of you, that is. You've got your flippin' claw caught in my leggings. You have, haven't you? You stupid cat. There you go. What? Do you want me pen? Is that what you want? You want me pen? You just want attention, don't you? Okay, so, working around this cat that's decided to settle on me frigging knee. Urn of Sacred Ashes, yes. So, we did not destroy the Urn of Sacred Ashes. We preserved them. Because while Constance has a dark side, remember I'm playing her as a devout Andrastian. What are you doing? So, we preserved the ashes. Preserved the ashes. The Guardian. Well, I mean, what could possibly happen to the Guardian? Can you kill the Guardian? I suppose you probably can if you don't agree to go do the gauntlet. You're going to fall off my knee if you're not careful. Well, he's alive anyway. He's alive. The dragon, the high dragon, we did kill him, but we had to go back and kill him. It was actually one of my favourite... I didn't kill him in the moment. I did try to. I tried to kill him like when we first went there, but then I ended up having to go back later when I was higher level. It was one of my favourite moments in the game, actually, because the entire party died apart from Liliana, and Liliana had to just like keep spamming health potions and firing arrows at him until he died, and she did it, and we killed the high dragon first attempt. And it was Liliana who defeated him with arrows. So yes, the dragon is dead. Just having a right around this putty cat. Hey? Now the elves, what did we do with the elves, eh? We brokered peace between the elves and the werewolves, didn't we? Didn't we? Yes, we did, because we're a good person. We did that. Cameron and Gaynor. We got Cameron and Gaynor back together, but I can't remember how we did it. I think we just did it through powers of persuasion, did we? I don't think there's multiple ways to do it. I definitely didn't sleep with either of them. Didn't do that. Because that does not help to get them back together. That's a very nasty thing to do, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes, it is. Very nasty thing to do. So yes, we got them back together. I'm not even going to bother writing that because of the cat sitting on it. I'll do it later. Athras and Denala. Stop being so fascinated with my pen. It's got ink in it. Don't lick it. So Athras and Deniala. We found Deniala. She'd been turned into a werewolf. And we gave Athras her scarf, but we lied to him and said that, you know, she was just dead. Didn't tell him about the whole werewolf situation. However, I think he figured it out. This cat. She's watching my face on the camera, and it's I think it's fascinating her a little bit. Just see her little ears. The Sighala, I did not even encounter the Sighala. I didn't even bother because I didn't have high enough, whatever it is you need, to do anything about it, so I just didn't even bother. Dagon is the he's the elf that you like, the elf scout that you find injured in the forest, isn't he? Yes, I took him back to the camp. Oh my god, this cat. I took him back to the camp, so he's alive and everything, and I did find the iron bark. Now you're off me. Woo woo woo! Putty cat! Just fell off me flipping disc. Now she's sitting there licking herself like nothing happened. Right, are you going to stay down here? Or are you going to let me actually do my thing? Yes, and the iron bark, I did find the iron bark. And got him to make an iron bark bow or something, I think it was. Okay, so this is sounding like a really boring playthrough so far, isn't it? Because I just kind of did all of the sort of generic good things for the most part. Apart from the whole leaving Connor possessed, obviously. Right, Broken Circle. So, at the Circle Tower, which was the first place I went because I wanted the extra attribute points, we supported the mages. We did not go through with the Rite of Annulment because that would be a weird thing for a mage to do. However, my next mage might do that. And we disagreed with Cullen. We didn't think we didn't want to do all the terrible things that Cullen wanted to do. But you know, bless him, he was a little bit traumatized, so we can forgive him. Irving is alive and well. Get your claws out of my flipping legs. Alive and well. The Blood Mage, this isn't something you need for the Dragon Age Keep, I just like to put it in. So there's a Blood Mage that you encounter, and she asks you to let her go so that she can like repent or something like that. I don't know how she's planning on getting out of the tower though. That's a weird. I never quite worked that out. It's like she's talking like she's gonna like leave or something, but I don't know. But anyway, I'll let her live anyway, because you can't kill her. You can kill her or you can let her live, and I let her live. Like I say, you don't need that for the keep. I just like to put it in. The Enthralled Templar. That's another thing I don't think you need for the keep. Now, going off Constance's personality, I should have let him stay enthralled, because, you know, she's kind of got an understanding with demons, and she doesn't think that being possessed by a demon or being enthralled by a demon is necessarily really a bad thing. But Liliana and Wynne were there, and I could feel their judgmental eyes on me, and at the time Liliana was like, she was the one I was flirting with, so I sort of fought the demon. Plus you get more experience that way, because you get experience from killing them. I do love me those delicious experience points. Yeah, so I killed the Enthralled Templar. Right. Orzammar. So in Orzammar we backed Balin. There isn't a good choice in Orzammar. Balin is the better of the two. Harriman's just an arsehole, really, isn't he? There's just nothing. I mean, I know Balin's an arsehole as well, but he's like an honest arsehole. Do you know what I mean? He's honest about his arseholery, whereas Harriman's like a sneaky arsehole. I know, I just like Balin better. Balin's more charismatic. He is the heir to the throne as well. I mean, I know he's the only the heir to the throne because he killed all of the other heirs, but still, he's the heir to the throne. Like, I mean, that's a very serious thing. You can't just say, oh yeah, he's the heir to the throne, but we don't think he's good enough, so we're going to bring in this absolute nobody who doesn't even have royal blood and put him on the throne instead. Like, that's just not a thing. Like, I mean, if that would be fucking anarchy if that was how things worked. And plus, Balin's the progressive one, isn't he? Harriman's the one who wants to like keep them in the past, whereas Balin wants to move forward and scrap the caste system and everything like that. And I don't know, he just seems the better choice. And I think Constance would have found him the better choice as well. I don't think she could have been asked with fighting in the proving, whereas as soon as she finds out that Harriman has been, you know, offering people things that he can't give them and stuff like that, she's very happy to expose him. So yes, we backed Balin. I did help Orta reclaim her house. I did help brother, what's his name, Burkle, create the chantry, because I'm a devout Andrastian. I did smuggle lyrium. Like I say, Constance has a bit of a, you know, moral... And if mages need lyrium, for their experiments and they can't get them as far as she's concerned, mages should have access to lyrium. And even when she finds out that what they're actually doing, they're like, you know, using it against the Templars and stuff like that. Why not? She made money from it. You know, she's got that. I've sort of thought that as the game goes on, she just gets a bit more morally dubious, possibly because of the demon in her head. I'd love to write a fan fiction about her, actually. How she just gets a demon in her head. Not possessed by a demon exactly, but she's got a demon in her head, sort of. Who just sort of keeps influencing her throughout the... Oh, that would be a fascinating story to write, wouldn't it? I might do that. Mind you, the amount of fan fictions I've got waiting in the wings to be written. There's about 87 of them or something. And I proved the Legion nobility, so the Legion of the Dead have their own cast. Dagna, I got Dagna to the circle. Dagna went to study at circle because Constance is all for the pursuit of knowledge. Filda, that's Rook's mother, isn't it? Yeah, I lied to her about him, told her that he was dead. Mardi, that is not applicable to this playthrough because that's only if you play as a dwarf noble. Zelinda, she's the one with the baby, isn't she? And she's a beggar on the streets. I persuaded her to go to the surface. And the stolen tome was returned to the Shaperate. Like, I don't know why the Dragon Age Keep needs to know half of this stuff. Because, like, most of it, as far as I can tell, doesn't come up unless it's just, like, buried deep in codex entries or something. And the Anvil of the Void was destroyed. I did think about preserving it, because, of course, Constance is all about, you know, power and arcane knowledge, and it's an artifact, an ancient artifact with this great power. But, again, Wynne was there. I always find myself incredibly influenced in my decision-making, depending on which companions are watching me make the decision. I'm just weird like that. Now, Warden's Keep, this is where it gets a little bit iffy. This is the thing I did that annoyed Wynne, because I left Warden's Keep right till the end. So, Avernus is alive, and I let him continue his experiments by whatever means he saw fit. So he may be experimenting on people right now, but you know, it gets us if it gets us, you know, knowledge about the taint, and if we can unlock extra power for the Grey Wardens as far as Constance is concerned, ends justify the means. Sophia is dead. I did think about siding with her because, of course, you know, Constance has an affinity with demons, but I think the lure of Avernus's research was more than the lure of a demon, and we did drink the potion, of course, to gain the power of blood. And Stone Prisoner, yes, this is another one that's a bit dubious. So Amalia is possessed by a demon. Because the demon just sweet-talked us a little bit, and Constance was just like, I like demons. You know? Yeah, sure, have the girl, whatever. It was a bit of a moment for Constance. And Matthias is alive, but his daughter is possessed. You can get them both possessed somehow, can't you? And I've never quite worked out how to do it, but apparently you can have them both be possessed. Right, Denerim, I cleared the Pearl. I did not complete Crime Wave. I didn't do that. Told Sigurd about Oswin. I did that. Oswin's one of the people that you find imprisoned in the Earl's estate, and Sigurd's his dad. I cleared out the Blood Mages from their hideout, because, you know, Blood Mages, terrible people. Who would associate with Blood Mages? I gave Justine the Scrolls of Banastor. I cleared the Crimson Ores. I returned the Beggar's Amulet in the Alienage. I returned Ermenric's Ring to Ban Alstana, who is one of my favourite characters in the game, despite the fact that you hardly see anything of her. I just think she looks really cool. I cleared the Orphanage in the Alienage. Poor Sir Otto. Sir Landry is dead because I duelled him, because I am an honourable woman. Quite often I just sort of persuade him not to duel me. But then it feels a bit wrong, doesn't it? Because, like, he's so offended by it. Like, he really wants to take you down in honourable combat and all of this kind of stuff. So I duelled him and won, obviously. Obviously I won. Wouldn't be much of a game if I'd ended up dying, would it? Ignacio, I didn't even encounter Ignacio. I'll put not applicable. I didn't even encounter him. So Cothrian is alive. Because I surrendered to her and let her take me to prison. And then Wynne and Ogren broke me out, and it's one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. Wynne turned up at Fort Draken. If you take Wynne to Fort Draken to try and break it out, right, when you get captured, and you let her persuade the guards to let her in, she comes up with this story that the ladies of Denerim have knitted scarves for all of the soldiers in the army, right? And they let her in. They let her in to deliver hand-knitted scarves, which she doesn't even have because they don't exist. And you just think this, like, old woman turns up with a dwarf, like a heavily armoured, very well-armed dwarf next to her, and it's just like, oh, I've got all of these scarves that the women of Denerim have knitted for the soldiers, and he's like, sure, go through. And then she talks the flippin' sergeant standing at the next door into having, like, a midlife crisis and basically just walking out. Just leaving her post. It's kind of, honestly, it is genuinely one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in Dragon Age. But yeah, so Corthrian is alive because I didn't even bother fighting her. Sir Otto is dead. I was going to say Sir Otto can't survive, can he? But of course he can if you don't do the mission. If you don't do the mission in the orphanage. But I did do it, so he's dead. And the slaver, that's the slaver, the Tevinter slaver in the Elven Alienage, and I killed him. So he offers you, after you defeat him, well, actually he offers you a deal. He offers you the chance to, like, he'll give you this letter that proves Logain's involvement in the slavery if you let him take the elves and go. And if your persuasion is, like, incredibly high, you might be able to persuade him. I don't know, actually. The option is there to try and persuade him to just leave leave the elves. And I did try, but he wouldn't go for it. And I thought, can I really justify letting him go with the elves? Is that something Constance would do? And I thought, maybe. But then I thought, probably not really. But I felt like I was being too good. I mean, this was meant to be quite a dark playthrough. Like, the whole point is she's a warden who has a demon in her head and practices blood magic. And while she's not, like, deranged and demented like a lot of the blood mages that you encounter, she's quite sane and powerful. But that was what was meant to be, like, scary about her. She was sort of meant to be a next Flemeth in the making. That was the kind of idea. And she's just ended up being, like, a really good person. And again, I had Wynne and Liliana there with me, sort of looking over my shoulder and breathing down my neck and making me feel guilty. So I didn't agree to that deal, and we fought him. And then he offers you this sort of thing where he says, after you've, defeated him, he says, oh, I can use the life force of all of these elves to increase your strength or something like that. I think he implied it would, like, add to my constitution, which would be useful to me being a blood mage. But I don't know, it just seemed so cheap. It was like, I'm already an incredibly powerful blood mage. Like, I do not need another mage to increase my power. It seemed like kind of insulting. I just thought, no, she wouldn't go for that. But I thought, I can't have her just let him go because she's been too good. So she killed him. There was no mercy for the slaver. She killed the slaver. Side quests, I completed all of the Chanter's Board, including Unintended Consequences, which is a quest that only pops up if you do the Summoning Sciences quest in the Mage Tower. And one of the people that you summon goes on a mad rampage and starts killing people. I did the Mages Collective, including the last one that you get after you've finished all the other ones, where you basically just have to go and deliver something to the Templars. There's 2 Templars you can choose from. There's the one who's on the Mages Collective side in Redcliffe and the one who is against the Mages Collective in Denerim. I was on the side of the Mages Collective. Interested parties, I did not do any of that. I think that's the bartender, isn't it? He has some maybe not strictly legal stuff. Which, while I keep saying Constance has, like, a dark side to her, she's not a petty criminal. She's got an air of nobility about her. I mean, she is noble because she's related to the Hawks, isn't she? She's an Amell. She's related to Leandra. I think she's Leandra's niece or cousin. I can't remember. She's Hawk's cousin, so she must be Leandra's cousin. Wait. No, she could be Leandra's niece, actually. I don't actually know what the link is. I think it's meant to be quite distant, so they're probably cousins. But yes, anyway, point is, I didn't do any of the interested parties stuff. I did do the Blackstone Irregulars, including the very last one with Raelnor and Tauren, but they are both alive, because if you complete all of the Blackstone Irregulars quests, then you get a special extra one, where which one's which? Tauren the Sun. I think Tauren's the son, and he's trying to take over the guild. So he wants you to kill Raelnor. And you can go and talk to Raelnor, and then Raelnor tells you that his son is like horrible, terrible person. So at that point I sided with him and said, oh well, I'll go and kill your son for you then. But then when I got to him, he was like, oh yes, but you know, my father is, you know, old and everything, and the guild's better under me. And then I was like, do you know what, this is really none of my business, and it doesn't feel like I should be interfering in this. So I was like, do you know what, you just go on your way and do whatever you have to do. And I kind of stayed out of it, so I didn't get a reward for it, but they're both alive. Didn't even get any experience, probably, because I didn't end up fighting anybody. But it just seemed like a very petty thing for Constance to be getting involved in. I thought Constance would have an air of, not entitlement exactly, but she's just like, you know, she feels like she's a bit above everybody. Not in like a terrible way, but, you know. And what's this? Revenants. Oh yes, I killed all of the Revenants. I got the one in Denerim, the one in the Circle Tower, the one in the Lower Ruins, in the Werewolf Lair, Caradon's Cross, and Orzammar Palace. I got all of them. And finally, who rules Ferelden? Anora does, because she is the better choice, and I do not care what anybody says. But also, because I softened Alistair, so he didn't want to be king. If you harden him, he sort of becomes a bit more open to the idea of being king, and he also ends up being a better king. But because I softened him, he really wasn't into the idea. And, of course, I wanted them to be able to, you know, run off and frolic off in the distance together and live happily ever after. And they can't really do that if he's king. Him and Constance, because of course Constance can't become queen because she's a mage. So yes, I decided to back Anora so that me and Alistair could live happily ever after. Who slayed the archdemon? I did. Constance killed the archdemon. But she had agreed to the ritual with Morrigan, and I think that is the point where Constance's dark side really comes out. Like with the original Constance, I did it the other way around. She did a lot of dark stuff through the game, and then it was at the end she was like, no, I'm not going to do this ritual, I'm better than that. Whereas this playthrough's gone the other way. I've had her be quite good throughout most of it, and at the end her dark side really comes out, because it is the morally ambiguous thing to do, and I don't care what anybody says. I know it may work out better in Inquisition, but in Origins we don't know anything about Inquisition, right? And when you think about it, Morrigan, even though she's your bestie, I mean she's always my bestie, I always love Morrigan, but she comes up to you and says, oh, I have this dark ritual where I will take the taint of the archdemon, the soul of an old god, and I will put it in my unborn child, and which I am going to conceive with Alistair, so it will technically be the heir to the throne, but let's just not mention that. And then I am going to frolic off into the distance with this child, and you will never see me or the child again, and I'm going to do whatever I please with the child, but I'm not going to tell you what my plans are, despite the fact that we're besties. And then, like, the whole process of persuading Alistair to sleep with her feels so awkward and manipulative, and he obviously isn't that keen on the idea. And yes, alright, he agrees, but he's sort of coerced into it, and it just feels so, just icky and just horrible, and like, and I don't do it very often, you know. Most of the time, I don't agree to Morrigan's ritual, because I just prefer the game without it. I prefer Inquisition without it, actually. I prefer that version of Morrigan. I know people say that she grows so much as a character when she's got, what's he called, Kieran? But I don't think so. I prefer Morrigan without him. So yes, I don't actually do the ritual that often. And when I was doing it, I just thought, this just feels so wrong. Like, it just feels so wrong. But yeah, so I think that is the real point where Constance's dark side came out, right at the end of the game, where she was like, do you know what? Yeah, we're going for the dark ritual. And we're going to just talk Alistair into sleeping with Morrigan and impregnating her. You know, so that we can both live. And it's like an honourable, true hero wouldn't be like that. They would be like, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself to save Ferelden, because I'm not a fucking lunatic. You know, no, Constance had no qualms about it, so Morrigan's ritual was completed with Alistair, because of course it can be completed with Loghain if he's alive. And it can be done with the Warden if you're playing as a man, which of course I wasn't. Completed with Alistair, and Loghain was killed by Constance. So it was Constance that duelled him. And again, this is part of Constance's, I can say, it's not exactly entitlement, it's not exactly arrogance, it's just self-confidence, I would say. She knows that she's the hero, you know? She knows that she's the one in command. She's quite happy to take the responsibilities and all that, whereas Alistair isn't. So rather than letting Alistair duel Loghain like he probably wanted to, she decided to take it upon herself. It was brilliant duel as well. Constance is one of the most powerful characters I've ever created. I might just play the duel for you right now because I don't think he even got a hit in. He might have got one in right at the end, but honestly it was brilliant. But yeah, so she duelled him and then she killed him and then she slew the archdemon. Although actually I didn't get the option. I think maybe if you do the ritual, you apparently don't get the option of who kills the archdemon. It's just the warden. Obviously, if you don't do the ritual, you have to choose who's going to kill the archdemon because whoever does dies. And then witch hunt we haven't done yet, so I can't fill that bit in. So that was Constance's playthrough. Now you may think at this point this would be the end of the video, but oh no, you aren't escaping just yet. This is a true magpie video. It's going to go on for fucking hours. So if we reload back to yes, post coronation, and we take a little look at our stats. So like I say, I was playing as a blood mage. I only got to level 22, which I find weird because I did almost everything, and usually I hit the level cap, which is 25, I think. But this time it didn't, which is odd. So these are our current stats. Like I say, I was playing blood mage, so our willpower and our magic is stupid high. Just because I'm playing as a mage, I always have those two, stupid high, because those are the two that you need, stupid high. I don't think I ever bothered putting any points into anything else. You will notice my constitution is fucking insane. But you'll notice my base constitution is 12. I don't think I put a single point into constitution. I certainly didn't put more than one in. I'm pretty sure I never put a point in. But I've got plus 22 from the equipment that I'm wearing. And I deliberately sought out constitution boosting equipment because while I always say constitution is a lie and that you should never really put points into constitution regardless of what class you're playing as, because it's not worth it. It's not that it's not a useful stat, it's just that it's not worth wasting skill points on. But if you can find stuff to boost constitution, that's a good thing, especially when you're playing as a blood mage, because blood magic drains your health. Although I don't actually use the blood magic talents that often. So yes, so my constitution is 34, but my base constitution is only 12. So what am I wearing? So I've got the Reaper's Vestments, which you buy from, I think, the Quartermaster in the Mage Tower. Is that right? I think it... Now I'm thinking, because I got that stuff from somewhere as well, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I got that from the Mage Tower, yeah. But anyway, that's plus 6 to Constitution, which is very nice. You know, I've just noticed I was wearing the Cinderfell gauntlets. I never increased my gauntlets to anything better than that, apparently. Yeah, I've also got the Key to the City that you get in Orzammar. That's plus 2 to all attributes. Life Giver. That one I bought from... What's his name? Garen? Is it? In Orzammar, the dwarf who's a little bit lyrium-addled. And that gives plus 10 to Constitution, plus 3 health regeneration, plus 10 health regeneration while exploring. Plus 3 to armor and 20% to all healing effects received. I highly recommend. It's expensive. It's more like 75 gold or something like that. But I highly recommend it, especially if you're playing as a blood mage, because you do need to keep that health up. But yeah, those were very, very good purchases. And then of course we've got Warden's Oath, which is plus 2 Constitution. That's very good. I never really bother switching that out for anything for the most part. Cord of Shattered Dreams is willpower. And the Staff of the Magister Lord is willpower. So yes, my constitution is stupid levels of boosted. Oh, you see my willpower's gone up even more now that I've put that staff back on. For some reason it had unequipped the staff, I don't quite know why. Anyway, if we look at our accomplishments, so across all characters and playthroughs, bearing in mind I reset everything, so I was starting completely from scratch. We've completed 53% of Origins with this playthrough alone. Constance personally has had 859 kills. The most powerful foe that she has personally slain is the Broodmother, although she slew the Archdemon. Although actually no, she didn't in combat. She did it in the cutscene afterwards. But in actual combat it was Alistair, because he had the full-on little animation that they do. Her hit rate is 96%, but she's a mage, so she can't actually miss, can she? She can just be blocked, I think. Damage dealt... Oh my god, what is that? 215,521 is that. Greatest damage dealt 108. Friendly fire damage dealt 2,299, because you know she's a mage, so there's always going to be friendly fire. But I had my dream, my sort of dream team who always came with me everywhere was Alistair, Liliana and Wynne, and I had them specced out to the point where they were unkillable. Honestly, it was unbelievable. The final battle, that is the best final battle I've ever fought in my life. Just like, we were just on top of it completely. That archdemon didn't know what fucking hit him. Contribution to party damage is 33%, is that it? I mean, I suppose that means they were probably doing about equal, weren't they? Because you have 4 people in the party. Injuries 28, so that means she died 28 times. So she definitely didn't get the I'm kind of a big deal achievement, which is to get to the end of the game without your main character ever falling in battle. That's gonna be a fun one. I was thinking, am I gonna do one of these playthroughs as like a complete playthrough on the channel? And I thought if I do, it'll definitely be if I get to the point where I've played 7 of them and I still haven't got that achievement, I'll do a playthrough specifically focusing on trying to get through the entire game without your main character ever falling in battle. It's going to be fucking hard. Unless you just reload every time they die, but that feels a bit like cheating, doesn't it? Right, so the party as a whole, across the entire game, we killed 2,571 things, you know, that you can kill. Demons and undead, 310. Fantastic creatures, whatever that means, 48. Golems, 28. I wouldn't have thought there were that many golems in the game, actually. People, 694. Darkspawn, 910. Bosses, 43. Dragonkin, 37. Corrupted animals, 62. Vermin, is that like rats and wolves and things? 237. Dangerous animals, 100 exactly. Most powerful foe, archdemon, obviously. Damage dealt, oh my fucking god, what is that number? 636,038. Stealing successes, 1. And that'll be from the Summoning Sciences quest where you have to pick Bucket off, what's his name, Trickster Wim or whatever his name is. Items crafted, 493. Money spent, 789 sovereigns, 38 silver and 80 coppers. Most money at once, 268 sovereigns, 93 silver and 50 coppers. Conversations initiated, 1,133. Codex entries discovered, 263. World explored, 96%. Because there's an achievement for exploring 100% of the world as well. But we only got to 96. I don't know what we missed. Probably like a shop or something that I didn't go into. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I never went into the shop in the Elven Alienage, did I? That might be it. Yeah, because there's an achievement for exploring entering every single area in one playthrough. So it doesn't include the origin locations, obviously. But yes, we didn't get that this time. Time played, 59 hours, 10 minutes and 34 seconds, which is about twice as long as I thought it would take. But I think that will include time that was just spent, like, sitting on the menu screen. And stuff like that, because there was a lot of time spent just sitting on the menu screen, you know, while I go off to make a sandwich or whatever, and then I get distracted playing with kittens, and then suddenly like, oh my god, it's been 2 hours and I never went back. So yes, those are our stats. I am going to do a video explaining about how I leveled her up for blood magic, specifically. This one's just a rambling video. This is a rambling magpie video, like, but I'll do a proper blood mage tutorial video to explain how I leveled her and what sort of spells I would focus on using for blood magic and stuff like that. I'm thinking of it being our Halloween special. I think that would be quite good. The only thing left to show you, if we go back to the main, yes, if we go back to the main menu, I'll show you exactly how many achievements I managed to get through the course of this playthrough. So not all of these achievements are from Constance's playthrough, because like I say, I did play all of the origin stories, didn't I? For each of the wardens, so I've unlocked all of those. But for her, I will have unlocked, where is it? Harrowed, completed the Magi origin. Kinslayer completed Ostagar. Magic Sympathizer sided with the mages. Poacher sided with the elves. Well, you see that says sided with the elves, but I actually brokered peace between the two. Like I didn't kill the werewolves, so who knows. Ceremonialist defied the cult of Andraste in the Urn of Sacred Ashes. Hero of Redcliffe completed the Isle of Redcliffe. Liberator destroyed the Anvil of the Void. Balin's ally sided with Balin. Rabble Rouser completed the Landsmeet. I love the Landsmeet, you know. Oh, and I completed the Landsmeet without having to fight anybody except Loghain. There was no fist fighting going on. Nobody attacked anybody. Didn't have any of that nonsense. We did it completely diplomatically, then with a duel at the end where Loghain died. But there was no, like, unseemly behaviour, because that's how good of a diplomat I am. Yes, but I love the Landsmaid. It's one of my favourite bits of the game. Standard Bearer. Use the Grey Warden treaties to recruit all possible allies. A Dark Promise. Defeated the Archdemon and through a dark ritual with Morrigan. Spared your own life. See, even the description of that sounds iffy, doesn't it? It's just like, that's not what a heroic, wonderful person would do, is it? Veteran. Main character learned a specialisation, but only one, because I couldn't choose another one and I didn't have the skill points to put into one anyway. Maybe we'll have a one in Awakening. Archmage. Main character achieved level 20 as a mage. First night experienced the thrill of romance with Alistair. Easily sidetracked. Completed 75% of all side quests. Grey Warden killed 100 Darkspawn. Master Warden killed 500 Darkspawn. Blight Queller killed 1,000 Darkspawn. Now that is interesting, because it said I only killed 910. But you do kill... This is across all playthroughs, isn't it? And you do kill Darkspawn in some of the Origins. The Dwarf Noble and the Dalish Elf. So that's probably what knocked me over into that. Dragon Slayer defeated the Dragon God in the Urn of Sacred Ashes. Defender preserved the lives of half the troops of Denerim Gate at Denerim's Gate in the final battle. Bloodied completed an origin story without the main character ever falling in battle. Yes, the origin story, not the entire flipping game. For a minute there, I was like, eh. Resilient completed Ostagar without the main character ever falling in battle. Pilgrim completed a Chanter's Board quest. The Collective Friend completed a job board quest for the Mages Collective. Blackstone Auxiliary, that's the same for the Blackstone Irregulars. Mercenary completed 15 job board quests. Educated, used a tome to improve the main character's attributes, talents, spells, or skills. Yes, I used all of the tomes that you can find to give you extra skill points, because I wanted to unlock those achievements for, you know, filling a magic tree. Persuasive succeeded at 5 difficult persuasion attempts. I did have him maxed out at coercion, I believe. Silver Tongued succeeded at 25 difficult persuasion attempts. Tinkerer crafted an item. Crafted 25 items. I crafted a lot of health potions. Set a trap. Did I? When did I set a trap? I can't think that any of my other characters set a trap either. Unless it's talking about glyphs. Because I had Win set a lot of glyphs. Like the magic traps that you can do. I don't know if that's what that was talking about. Maybe. Nimble disabled a trap. That would have been Liliana that did that, not me personally. Disabled 25 traps. Pick the lock on a chest or door. Again, that would be Liliana. Pick the lock on 50 chests or doors. Successfully picked someone's pocket. That was the Summoning Sciences quest that we did that in. Tactician. Main character killed 250 enemies without them inflicting damage. Ooh, I achieved that apparently. I was very good at incapacitating people with my magic. Hexer. Main character learned all entropy spells. Yes, that was the one I managed. I didn't manage to get the primal one, but hopefully we'll get it in Awakening. Completed Soldier's Peak. Master of the Peak. Diabolist. Took advantage of Avernus's research. Of course I did, to gain the power of blood. Always gain the power of blood. I don't care what class you're playing as or what kind of character, always gain the power of blood, because it's fucking incredible. For each class, they have different abilities that the blood gives you, but just like always do it, because it's really good. Rock in a Hard Place completed the Golem in Honleith. Stone's Lament completed a Golem's Memories, which is Shale's quest. In War Victory, defeated the ogre that killed King Kaelin. That's in the Return to Ostagar DLC. These are Liliana's DLC's ones, aren't they? Yes. And is that it? That's it. So we've got 52 out of 109. So I've got like almost half of them in one playthrough. And I wasn't even really trying in this playthrough, apart from getting the that one. I wasn't really particularly trying. So these are all the ones that you would sort of get just from playing the game, really. And then as we get further through, I'm going to have to be more sort of focused on particular ones, like the ones that are harder to get. So yes, that's it. That is where I'm bringing this video to an end. Thank God for that, you're all thinking. So I will do another video for each of the characters, and they will all be as long and rambly and boring as this. But they might have kittens in them. do not expect you to watch them if you don't want to. It is a very, very specific type of person who would watch a video like this. It is a very specific type of Dragon Age geek who would even be remotely interested. But you know, because I might go back and do more playthrough you know, gameplay videos with Constance, and then, you know, you'll know who she is and you'll know her backstory. Might even write some fan fictions about her. You never know. For now, I'm gonna go because I've got more playthroughs to do. I mean, I still haven't done Awakening for this one. I want to do Awakening, don't I? And then I need to do 7 more playthroughs. And then we can start on Dragon Age 2. See, after I've done all of these, and I've done lots of gameplay videos and challenge videos and tutorial videos and all of this, we'll get started on Dragon Age 2. And then I'll do the same for Inquisition. And by then, who knows, maybe Dragon Age 4 will be out. Probably not. Probably another 25 years or something. But you never know. But anyway, yes, I'm going to go now because I've waffled on enough. And I shall see you in whatever the next video is going to be. I don't know. Could be anything. Depends what sort of fancy takes me, really, doesn't it?